Welcome to the Pam Goodwin Show. I am excited to meet my guest, Dreux Antoine, who is a singer, and he also has a new cookbook out, the Soulful Cookbook. He's a celebrity chef, and I can't wait to meet him all the way from Houston, Texas. Welcome, Dreux.
Hi.
It's so nice to meet you.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me.
I love eating, and I can't wait to hear about your story and your
too.
soulful. I have a hard time saying that word, soul.
A lot of people do. So soulful, just think of just cooking with soul, just having a whole lot of soul. So soulful, because a lot of people think I'm saying soul food, but it's soulful, just full of soul. Soulful Chef Cookbook.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I'd love for you to tell our audience, where you grew up. Because you've been singing since you, first of all, you sing, and then you have the soulful cooking.
Yeah.
But tell us about how
in New
where
Orleans,
you grew up.
New Orleans. So in New Orleans, it's either food or music. Those are the two big things in New Orleans, and of course, I just happen to have both of them. I grew up around it. I come from a family of singers, musicians. My grandmother was a world-class, world-renowned dancer, African dancer. She traveled all over doing dance. And then, of course, like I said, I have musicians and at-home chefs in my family. My family owned restaurants in New Orleans. They still do to this day. But prior to Katrina, we had more. But, of course, because of Katrina, they closed down. So I just come from that family of chefs, cooks, restaurateurs, artsy people. It just was in my blood. And then I grew up in the French Quarter, so that didn't help anything.
Wow.
So I started singing at 4. I started playing piano at the age of 8.
Wow.
I think my first public performance was probably at the age of 5 in New Orleans, where we performed every year at the school that I was going to called St. Louis Cathedral. So it's in connection to the Cathedral Church. There's also a school as well in the French Quarter. We had Friday Mass. And then we also had, of course, Christmas pageants and stuff like that. So that was my introduction to performing in public, was being exposed to that large, massive crowd for our Christmas play. And of course, they pushed me to sing, and that's just how it all started for me.
I love that. Can you belt out a few tunes?
Sure.
I know you have a one song. I want to go back to your one song that I saw on YouTube.
Yeah, A Better Day.
Right.
Yeah,
and that was inspired by President Obama or part of it?
I did. So I was watching a mini conference he was putting on, that he was talking about his run into the presidency. And then immediately you saw everyone just attacking him and just going off like, wow, this is crazy. So as he was talking, musicians know that when you hear something in your head, you're hearing a melody in your head, you're hearing lyrics in your head, okay, this might be a song. So I started hearing it, and then the words just started flowing out, and before I knew it, I had this entire song put together in a matter of minutes, and we recorded it probably in one take.
Oh, wow.
In Houston. Yeah, we recorded it in one take in Houston, and I sent the demo to my good friend Marcus Dawson. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Oh, big time. Yep,
Yeah,
based here in Dallas. Yep, big fan of his.
Marcus is Bishop Jakes' personal musician, so anytime Bishop Jakes travels, Marcus is with them. I reached out to Marcus and said, hey, I have this song. I sung it for him, I played it for him, he listened to it. I had it as a slow song originally. It was real slow, real mellow. It's going to be like a little worship song for people who are familiar with church. Marcus said, no, I don't hear it like that. No. So what you hear now, that's what Marcus came up with. So he totally reformatted it, and it just took off from there. It became a great hit. It's received a lot of radio airplay. It's been exposed to the world. So I'm glad he did it the way he did it, because probably if he had stuck with my idea, we probably would not have been as successful.
I love that. And I read that you also perform with one of my favorite singers, with Chaka Khan.
Chaka Khan, yes.
I love her. I
love
just recently
Chaka.
saw her I think it was last year in San Diego.
Oh,
at
for the festival?
Outdoor, outdoor. And oh my gosh, I love her music.
I love her too. She was one of our special guests in New Orleans for our Easter service that we had at the UNO Lakefront Arena. And I had just having that opportunity just to share with her and just have that, personal interaction that, forever changes a young singer, young musician's life. She's just so down to earth, so humble. She's real. What you see is what you get. If you know, make her mad, she's gonna let you know. And if you make her happy, she's gonna let you know. So she just reminds you of that mom, you know, that mom grandmother type feel. So it was definitely an honor performing and being able to share with Chaka.
Oh, that's great. So do you write all your own songs?
I write all of my songs that I've recorded. They've all been written and produced by me. I've worked with several different producers just to kind of give the song a little bit more life. Because I always feel like I'm gonna approach a song just from my limited space. You know what I mean? I'm New Orleans all day. I'm classically trained. I'm gospel. All of those things. So depending on the song that I have, I reach out to different producers to just kind of help bring new light to the song, give it a different type of concept and idea, and just play around and see what works. So, but yeah, I write all of the songs, or if I do a cover tune, I'm gonna kind of reformat it just to kind of make it fit my style.
Oh, great. Are you performing here around anywhere in Texas, or what are your
Well, because
singing?
of the pandemic, I haven't been performing. Actually, this past weekend was the first time I've actually been able to get back in the studio, start working on music. We just recorded another song that I wrote it over the weekend down in Houston. So this is kind of the introduction to get back to everything for me. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens, you know, with the whole pandemic and how the states, you know, local areas, how they begin to open up. And then once, you know, everything is safe and you know, we're good to go, then I'll get back on the road and start traveling, promoting the cookbook and accepting singing engagements as well.
Wow, good. I can't wait to see you sing. I'm sure a lot of other people. So you're born and raised in New Orleans, and then all around the fabulous French Quarters, and then now you currently live in Houston?
Yes, in Houston.
And
Energy Corridor, Houston, West Houston.
okay.
Yeah.
And tell us about your TV celebrity chef and how did you become a chef? You went to school here in Dallas at Richmond College? You graduated
Yeah, so I
from?
graduated from Richland with a business, music and business degree. I went to culinary school in Louisiana.
Okay.
I did culinary training in Louisiana and in Texas. So it started in Louisiana, and then of course when we moved here to Texas in 2005 because of Katrina, I continued my education and everything in Dallas. And then, of course, when I moved from Dallas to Houston, I continued there as well because I was offered a position with Landry's Corporation, which owns, of course, a whole bunch of different concepts. You know, they make their chefs go through top-notch training. So I had an opportunity to train with them and then just continue, you know, my pursuit in higher education, both through music, business, and also on the culinary side. So just kind of putting it all together just to make it make sense, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's great. I love your cookbook. When did it come out? The Soulful Chef Cooking Vegan. I'm trying to go more vegan and vegetarian edition.
So that's the newest one. That one was just released in March. The first one was released back in 2017. The Soulful Chef Cooking Show spawned from the cookbook, of course. We had an idea to do like live cooking demos, but we wanted to do it on a grander scale. We didn't want it to just be something that will put people to sleep, boring. So of course, just brainstormed, played around with different ideas. Of course, the Essence Music Festival, which is held in New Orleans every year. It's been in existence like 25 years. It's the largest urban music festival in the country.
Wow.
So because it was held in New Orleans, I decided to kind of connect the cooking show to that. We have a lot of great facilities in New Orleans that do live cooking demos, but they had never done it the way we wanted to do it. So we tested it at the Crescent City Cooks location in the French Quarters in New Orleans, and then we switched it over to Simply Gourmet, which is a similar concept, but it's in a different part of the CBD in New Orleans. So what happened was we had a lot of feedback from some of the participants. So it went from being just like a small 10-person thing to 50 plus people. And then so we have it where we have a live audience. I'm doing a live cooking demo, fresh, nothing is pre-made and everything is fresh in front of the audience. I interact with the audience. They come up and help me. We're talking. We have a DJ there as well. So it's just like a big old party pretty much.
How fun.
And then of course, you know, because it's during the weekend, well, it kicks off the weekend during Essence Music Festival. You have people in from all over the country. So you have so many people coming in, and then we do it every Saturday in the month of July. So you have different people coming into the city, and then they come and they be part of our live audience. And then from there, it just blew up and became this big thing. Have people reaching out from Canada and Nigeria, letting me know that they attended the show and they enjoyed it. They can't wait to come back to the next one the following year. So that's how the cooking show, kind of started and kicked off. And then from there, we do what's called cooking moments, which is just like a little small intimate type setting where I'm just doing little tidbits just to show people how easy it is to make certain things so that people can get back into the habit of cooking at home and doing the home cooked meals. You know what I mean? Instead of always eating out and wasting money pretty much, and just trying to, make people go the healthy route. That's the whole, goal and focus of the Soulful Chef brand, is to kind of guide people back to that healthy side of eating at home, cooking at home, spending time with family instead of ordering pizza and fried chicken all of the time. Let's learn how to do it at home and make it, healthier so that we, can live a long life, long, healthy lives.
I love that. What's your specialty? What's your
People
top?
always
They always ask you that, huh?
Always ask me that, and it's so hard to answer because I've been exposed to so much. So in total, I've learned how to do over 200 different concepts.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
So to pick one from 200, that's hard. But if you
your
had
award-winning dish.
Yeah. So if you put $1 million in my hand, I would simply go with give me gumbo. Just give me gumbo. Give me a nice, delightful, pleasant, great tasting gumbo. That's probably the specialty for me, because you can do different things with it. It's not just what it's been confined to in New Orleans or in Louisiana. There's different things you can do with it. You can do the chicken and sausage. You can do a vegetable gumbo. You can do the seafood gumbo. So it's different things you can do with it. So that would probably be my favorite or my specialty thing to go to.
Wow. Yeah. I'll have to try that. I know last time I think they even put alligator in gumbo, don't they?
So in different cities in Louisiana, you will get it different ways. They put hot dog wieners in it. They do chicken feet.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, pig feet, pig's lip. So depending on where you are, you will get a different type of a gumbo. That's what I'm saying. You can do so many different things with it, and make it work for you. But in New Orleans, it is like just one way. You're just gonna have the seafood and sausage and meat in it. You're not gonna have all that chicken stuff and hot dog wieners. They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna do that.
Oh, good. And then, was this your first cookbook?
Yeah. So that's the first one. That's the very first one that was released back in 2017. And this one has regular recipes, so like your regular soups, your pastas, all of those things. There's some vegan, vegetarian. Yeah, there's some vegan, vegetarian options in there. But that one is just like for regular recipes, popular recipes that people have always reached out asking me to either make for them or to help them and teach them. So we just put it in the cookbook to make it easy for everybody.
I like that. Do you ever, with all those recipes, have you ever opened up your own restaurant or been asked to, I'm sure?
Yes, I've been in the works with that for a very long time. It's just so hard.
Yeah.
Restaurants are very high risk, and just the thought of having to open it and then it not succeed as hoped just kind of frightens me, to be honest. But we've done other things. I own multiple catering companies actually. So we have an opportunity through the catering companies to do different events. So we're catering parties. We're doing just like little New Orleans nights, like New Orleans themed nights or whatever. So we have opportunities to kind of operate somewhat like a restaurant. We can do different spots and host it at different locations. But to actually do a standstill restaurant, I'm working on it. I'm just trying to figure out when's the best time to do it so that it doesn't fail. Because that's the greatest fear for me is to see it fail and not do as well as I had hoped for it to do.
Right. Do you have a Dallas catering company here?
I do. So the Flaming Skillet, the Flaming Skillet is here in Dallas. So the Flaming Skillet covers Dallas, New Orleans, and Los Angeles. In Houston,
even Los Angeles.
Even Los Angeles. And in Houston, we have Houston Cafe. So they all, they service the metro areas for those, major cities. But that's where we are: Dallas, New Orleans, Houston, Los Angeles, and then I'm looking to expand as well. I've reached out to some of my friends who are also chefs to kind of partner with them to reach like Atlanta and Miami, some of the other major cities where these type of recipes and concepts will work.
Oh, well, that's great. So you sing,
I do.
you cook.
I do.
I just saw that you have a podcast out.
Just started a
Tell
podcast.
us about your podcast, what you talk about.
It's called the Dreux Antoine Podcast Show. My good friend Mia Nelson in Houston. The podcast market had just blew up kind of overnight. At least that's the way I felt about it. At first, nobody knew what podcast was. It was just like, okay, a podcast show, whatever. But then all of a sudden, it just started blowing up. So I just kind of entertained the idea during this whole pandemic, like, what can I do to, not only make a little bit more money on the side, but what can I do to entertain people, just entertain myself, really. So the idea of the podcast show came. So then we, discussed it. We talked about it. We kind of played around with different ideas. And then we launched it in December of last year. So we're 5 months into it now. So we discuss a large array of topics. We're discussing current trends, current news, all of the social injustice things going on, protests, everything that's currently happening in the country. That's what we're discussing. And then, of course, we interact with our audience on social media live. So we're filming live on our Facebook and Instagram pages and YouTube as well. So we get to interact with our audience as we're filming, and then of course it goes through the editing phases and whatnot before we upload it to all of the digital platforms. So it's fun. We have, we're trying to do something different with the podcast because, of course, I'm sure you've seen a lot of boring podcasts where it's just like, oh my God, what are they saying?
Click, next one.
Right, next. So we're trying to make it more interactive, more engaging. So that's why we record it live so that we can interact with our audience live and people can see what we're doing live. And then, like I said, we edit it and then put it on all of the digital platforms. So it's just really something fun for us to do and just kind of stay current with everything. A lot of our fans and our audiences, they were looking for something that can inspire them, entertain them, and just kind of, keep them moving throughout this whole pandemic. So that's really what the idea of the podcast show is.
Oh, good. And it's on your Instagram and
so it has its own everything.
What name is that under?
It's at Dreux Antoine Podcast Show.
Okay.
All of that. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everything is at Dreux Antoine Podcast Show. Or they can go to the website, DreuxAntoinePodcastShow.com, and then they can just click on the social media tabs there, and everything will connect from there.
Oh, good. Well, we'll make sure we put that in
Thank you.
all the information that they know exactly how to reach out to you.
Thank
And then
you.
Besides your podcast, I saw that you have a new book out. Is it dealing more, with some of the mental health issues?
It is.
And
it is.
how did you come up with that?
Yeah, it's a tough thing for African Americans to talk about. It's always been this thing that we don't believe in mental health. We don't know what that is. In 2016. I had really had this big depression stage. I don't really know where it came from. And of course, I went through all of that post-traumatic stuff after Katrina, but there was so much counseling available, it helped to kind of move me along and to kind of get me out of that. And then all of a sudden, between 2006 and 2016, it's just like, what's going on? So in 2016, I was living in the Woodlands. This is, when I moved to Houston, I was living in the Woodlands. And I just was depressed. I was just severely depressed. And I could not figure out what was going on. So then I finally made the decision to reach out and ask for help. So I reached out to my doctor. He recommended going to see a mental health specialist. And then from there, I was diagnosed with manic depression, bipolar disorder 1. So of course, they gave me the options to either do the treatment or to do medicine. Well, then I'm not doing medicine because I have a hard time swallowing pills. So I said, well, let me do the treatment and let's see how that works. So I started going to counseling, just started discussing everything. And just probably over a year and a half, I started feeling much better. I started getting back to myself. I started doing more things, and then I started writing and creating cookbooks on all of those things. And I didn't mention that this is actually one of 10. So each of them are going to be a 10-part series. So at the end of each, people would have learned over 200 different recipes from those cookbooks. But I just started writing more music. And it helped me, it healed me to be able to get out of whatever it was I was in and to focus on it, deal with it, and then to help myself to not let it overwhelm me and take me. And then from there, I just was working to make sure that I don't let my mental illness get the best of me. That's the thing I always tell myself every day is don't let it get the best of you. So of course I have my normal mood swings and the times where I just want to be left alone. I'm just like, okay, I just need to shut down for a while. But then I just have this feeling of something on the inside that says, come on, get up. It's time to move on. It's time to get started. Let's go. Don't just sit there and dwell in it. Let's do something. And then from there, I just started working and focusing more on helping others who I can identify with. You know, you can see the signs sometimes. So you have that discussion with them and say, hey, listen, have you ever been diagnosed? Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever had counseling? All of those things, because I hate for people to go through what I've been through. So I always try to help others when I see that there's something there. I try to talk to them and just say, hey, listen, let's talk about this. If you need help with it, you know, let me help you. So I started working on my new book called State of Me, State of Mind in 2019.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, it was supposed to be a conference and everything in place from in 2020. But because of the pandemic, we had to postpone everything. So we're actually going to launch it this year in 2021. But I started writing this in 2019. And it's just like a self-help guide. I tell my story about how I grew up, and then all of the things that I've been able to do, even diagnosed with the mental illness, because the goal is just to let people know that it's not the end of the world because you've been diagnosed with a mental illness. Depression doesn't mean you have to kill yourself. That's not the end. Bipolar disorder doesn't mean you have to kill yourself. It's not the end. So the goal is really to let people know that just because you've been diagnosed with the mental illness doesn't mean that's it for you. You can have a successful life. You can have a healthy life as long as you do the work. You know what I mean? Do the counseling, do treatment, whatever it takes to make sure that you remain healthy. And that's all the book talks about, is just my story and just encouraging people to know that just because you've been diagnosed with a mental illness, it's not the end of the world.
And wow, thanks for sharing that. I
Yeah.
know so many people, they always say everyone is going through something.
Right.
And for you to be able to share your story and now help, and I'm sure a lot of people, once you launch that this year, how many people will be reaching out
That's
to
the
you
goal,
and
I
sharing your story, and everybody's, you know, I'm sure everybody will be saying, I'm so glad you did that because this is what's happening to me, and because
Right.
you opened up, had me open up.
I hope that's what happens. That's the goal. And like I said, because it's just not something that's discussed in African American community, minority communities, I want it to be something that people are not afraid to talk about. And then from there, I hope that it allows people to open up and get the help that they need. Because if you look at what's been going on just throughout, you know, the past few years, a lot of it stems from people having mental illness. The breakdowns, the murders, all of the violent crimes, like it stems from someone having some type of mental illness. And then, you know, the stories of individuals being killed by law enforcement who were diagnosed with mental illness. Like, we want to kind of put it into all of that. And I've talked to and met with local leaders in Houston, the sheriff, the former police chief, Art A. Acevedo, who's now Miami's PD police chief now. I've talked to him on several occasions. Like, we want to do something that helps put the end to all of this. Law enforcement don't have the right, or do they need to kill someone, shoot someone who they see is having a breakdown. So let's just put the negative, stigma over it. Let's kill it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And let's look at people for who they are, what they're dealing with at that moment, and let's try to help them, not hurt them even further. And that's really what the book is really for.
That's great, because you know the mental stigma or that people have or carry and not doing anything. But
Right.
even in 2021, you would think we would be a lot more open about
Right,
it. All
right.
races, everybody deals with it, and you know, for African American, you know, for it to be not, you know, less talked about for some, you know, for some reason. I mean, I don't understand, you know, why it's not talked about in any race and why. So I'm glad you're out there with your voice and sharing to make it more vocal. And I love when I see on the news, or, you know, we're giving more money and more funds to communities to help mental, and
Definitely.
you know, to help the police and know more about it and just be open about it. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're out there
Thank
with
you.
your voice.
Thank
That's
you.
helping everyone.
I'm trying. That's my goal. I like I say, I'm for the people. I want to see everyone succeed. I want to see everyone healthy. I want to see us all win.
I love that. And so now that you've done a lot, and now this new book, my question I always ask my guests is, what else is on your bucket list? But it sounds like, you know, going through this is your next. But what else is out there?
List? So of course, probably opening the restaurants. There's a lot that I want to do with the Soulful Chef brand, like opening a store, an actual storefront. Because I didn't mention, so I've just done testing and development for products.
Oh,
okay. So the Soulful Chef brand is not only cookbooks, but it's also going to be culinary kitchenware, apparel, and then spices. So later on this year, if God says the same, you'll see Soulful Chef not only available online, but in certain grocery stores around the country. So that's been the goal, to kind of expand that Soulful Chef brand. Finishing music, finishing the projects. Some of the artists that I've been working on, you know, help them get their projects out as well. And just wherever the wind blows, I guess.
I love that. Well, I may be able to help you get some of your products, since I do retail commercial real estate.
Okay.
And have some contacts.
Awesome.
I may be able to help that. And then we're always looking around for pop-up shops.
Yeah.
When you have that ready to launch, and have some other people I may be able to introduce you to.
Absolutely. I greatly appreciate it.
And I love good
We're just kind of
product.
watching to see what happens with the pandemic. Of course, we want everything to be safe. We want everyone to be safe. So we're just really monitoring that to see when we can really do, you know, a lot of public engagements and interaction with people, because that's really the goal for us. That's how the books sell. Is you know, the fact that I can go to a Barnes & Noble location and interact with everyone, and that helps the books to sell. I can't even count how many times just me being there helped that book to sell. You know what I mean? People had an opportunity to actually see me doing recipes from the book. They tasted it, had an opportunity to taste it, and they said, okay, I'm definitely going to buy this. So I look forward to getting back out there and just meeting people all over.
That's great. Well, I can't wait to try your cooking.
Absolutely.
So I'll have to cater you for some food here, here in Dallas, or when you have a location or an event coming up. The one in New Orleans you mentioned, do you think they'll be having that this July?
Well, we discussed it earlier this year, but New Orleans had a lot of situations. Their cases declined, they rose, they declined, they rose. So we finally said, no, we're going to hold off until 2022.
Okay.
Because we know, you know, summertime is coming, you know, everybody's going to start getting out. And even though the numbers are going down in certain areas, we just don't want it to see, we don't want to see an influx right as we're getting ready to, you know, start production for the cooking show. So we're just going to cancel it for this year and just wait for 2022 and hope that everything is good to go next year.
That'd be great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
You.
I've been thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you. Where can people find your cookbooks?
It's on my website, DreuxAntoine.com, or they can go to Barnes & Noble. It's at any Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon. It's a whole plethora of platforms, but definitely on the website, and then definitely Barnes & Noble.
All right. Well, we'll make sure we post that and all of your information so they buy your cookbooks. And thanks again, Drew, for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks again for watching the Pam Goodwin Show. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and for valuable content.